I cannot believe that we are at the end of another season. We're here. We love to do this at the end, that we just collect all the pebbles that we've been getting from our guests, and we put it together as a tool for our listeners to just go straight to an exercise, an action that they can do for their own wellness. And of course, as Ripple say, for the wellness of
waves,
others,
right?
Yes. To create those ripples. And the very first one, this season, we're talking about life beyond medicine. And we're seeing physicians as the complex, beautiful, holistic human beings that you are. And the first one was about music, but I missed it. I missed Dr. Kogan. What do you want to tell me about that?
I mean, talk about an amazing individual. Dr. Kogan, psychiatrist, concert level pianist, amazing individual. And what I took away, one of the things that I took away from that episode that was very interesting to me was, I often think about when people learn music about the individual benefits of that, you know, the discipline, the using different centers of your brain. But what he really talked about, and I think had a lot of overlap in medicine, was the idea of working within an orchestra as, you know, developing harmony and playing music with others.
Wow.
And I thought that was a really neat lesson for medicine. Also, he talked a lot about listening, the power of listening, and how by listening to music, how that helps him inform being a psychiatrist and listening to his patients. Very, very neat stuff.
Yes. Yeah, he was such an amazing individual. Someone who is kind of, you know, physician at his best, and also a concert pianist from Juilliard's at his best.
Wow.
Yet, he said, you don't have to be perfect in both. You want to be as close to perfectionism in medicine, and you can be good at music, even 10 minutes a day. I think that's a lesson that I think our residents would, all of us, if I cannot do 1 hour, I'm not doing it, versus I'm just doing 10 minutes. That's still okay. I think that was a very profound lesson I thought got from him.
Yes. The other really neat story was his story about Beethoven and resilience, and dealing with kind of how he dealt with his loss of hearing, and ultimately how it made him a great composer. And I don't want to share that story. You're going to have to listen to the episode to hear it. But it's a really amazing story that you don't want to miss.
Exactly. Very valuable lesson there.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So we're going to play the pebble for our audience right now.
I think the pebble might be just something very simple, that music can make us feel better. And involvement in music and the arts can make people better doctors. Actually, it doesn't diminish from people's capacity to be effective physicians. It actually enhances it.
So incorporate music into your lives in whatever way.
In whatever way. As you said, if you only have a few minutes, that's better than nothing. In whatever way. But I think the type of way, you know, if you listen to music, you're at the end of a stressful day, you go home, you listen to something that's really meaningful to you. I'm reluctant. I don't give anybody a playlist because everybody has their own association with music, so people should choose music that they like. So listening to music is great. I would say actually making music's even better, more potentially therapeutic. And I would say best of all, if you can make music with others, the kind of music making in groups, that is probably the sort of the social cohesion there. I would say that's the best of all.
So I was really excited that you were doing an episode with Dr. Jen Lacoste about pottery. I know Jen very well from our compassion course, from her work in palliative care, but it was neat to hear this other side of her that's really quite amazing.
Yes, and isn't it great? I think she's the guest that has come back to our podcast the most times.
That's true. That's true. In various roles, though.
In various roles, which is amazing. Yes, that was a great episode. And I feel spoiled. Vina, you have to help us a little bit here because I had the opportunity to actually go visit her studio and work on some pottery with her. And what she was saying, again, so beautiful. Once again, it's not only about the individual benefits of doing it is about how that reflects on your life in many ways.
Yes.
How to move through frustration, because believe me, it's not easy to get things done the way you want them the first time, and just recognize, I'll try again, and I'll try again. And the process is as beautiful as the final, result. So I took that from her, and just the way that she does everything with compassion is very inspiring.
Yes. For me, what it stuck with me was when she said, sometimes the pottery breaks, and then you feel time to do it again, and then keep doing it. And then somehow I saw the analogy how she works with patience. She's with patience. She's patient. She keeps giving. It's okay. First time they may not be amicable to what she comes up with, but she keeps trying. It's never a reason to back off. And that was something that I thought was very profound. And Jen's personality is such that she's such a giver.
Yes.
And the pottery that you keep doing it over and over again is a lesson for all.
Yes.
The other thing I know about Jen is that she loves to teach other people to do this. So again, going back to the idea of community and working with others to share what you have with them.
Definitely.
Yes, absolutely.
Going technical here, working with glazes was a lesson on its own, because you put the glaze on the pottery, you put it in the kiln, you never know what's going to come out. And she did talk about that, letting go of the final result exactly as you want it. And when you think that she's a palliative care physician and that she has to do whatever she does, knowing that the results might be completely different to what she wants for the patients, it's huge.
That's why she's so good at process. She's not going to say that. I mean, we all want the best outcome, but process is where we focus.
Yes. Wonderful. So let's listen to that, Pebble.
My pebble is find or build a community of people that you connect with. So connect with people and then just go for it. You may not have a perfect plan. You may not know where to start, but find some people who can support you, who may be interested also, and connect with them, and then just go for it and let it unfold, and accept uncertainty and be excited about it, and just take it day by day and start small.
We had so much fun talking with Dr. Dudley Harris, an ophthalmologist, and he had stories to share about his photography, his pottery. He has traveled the world with photography, and he has taken over several thousand pictures, and they have been in exhibitions all over in UN.
Wow.
Yeah, and that is his passion. And he also talked about how things ought to be when they are not. Then he would his famous quote that he gave us is thinking things up.
Yes.
So in Robert Greene, the wall was bare, so him and his wife decided to paint and put all kinds of pictures so that it's very welcoming.
Yes.
So if things don't work out, make sure things
come
work.
up with a different solution.
And something about the way he looks at life, so positive. And also there's so much sense of giving, in the pottery. Adriana, he talked about giving away, like selling all his pottery throughout the year. He makes them.
Yes.
End of the year, he sells it.
He
sells all of them, and gives it away to NPR. And he has been doing it for last 20 years or so.
Yes. I was also very inspired, because we think that once we are in a profession that we feel passionate and that we think this is it, everything that you do apart from that, it's a hobby, and maybe you won't have time, like we heard from many of them. He went to Africa, was it? To take pictures?
He went to India.
India.
Yes.
To take pictures for National Geographic.
And UN,
and the UN.
Things.
So, and this is a guy that is still, comes back and is a practicing physician. He didn't have to choose one or the other. And I think that was very inspiring for me. Did you get to, what do you think about photography? Did you even think about that as one of the things we were going to talk about in the podcast, John?
I didn't initially. What I'll say about it is that it makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of people believe that we all have a phone, we all can take pictures. Real artists know the right time, the right light, the right situation to take a beautiful picture. And it works really well with the idea of being a physician, because after all, we have to be great observers first of our patients. And so it makes perfect sense that someone who's a great observer as a physician would also be an incredibly talented photographer as well.
And
so much attention to detail. He's an ophthalmologist, so much attention to details too. Yes.
It's all about light.
Yes, exactly. That's right.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful
Another
analogy.
wonderful pebble that we're going to listen to.
Yes. Looking forward to this one.
Think things up.
Yes. Think things up. Yes.
And that leads to creativity.
How would you instruct or direct our residents and fellows to think things up?
Well, you got to think that up.
I love it. Yes. So go ahead and think things up. Thinking is free in many ways, not just money wise. You become free when you're thinking. So go ahead and think. And now the next one is one of my favorite, but again, very personal, because the next one we talked about dance. And dance is one of my passions. Dance is how I move energies in my life. So, I've heard that people tell me that if a pot falls in the kitchen, I dance to that noise. It's true. And dance was one of those that I got to know Dr. Bradley through her years in our training programs. And she always walked that line between dance and medicine, and she had a hard time figuring out how they could combine. She thought that I either do this or that, nobody's going to take me seriously if I'm a physician, because she was a Cowboys cheerleader. I mean, she was a professional person in dance.
In this area,
Yes. And I saw her development and I saw her growth into embracing this part of herself as this is also me. It's not either or, this is also me. And then we had Dr. Ramamurthy, who had a whole other set of stories. I enjoyed what she had to say so much.
Yes, Ramamurthy is almost a fixture in the community here. She has taught dance. She has internship for dance students. And she's really brought dance to San Antonio in the U.S.
Yes.
And the nice thing about the combination of Dr. Ramamurthy and Thurston Bradley is generations-wise how dance, music, everything moves through.
Yes.
And we add new things to it. At the same time, the flavor always stays on. Yes. And Dr. Ramamurthy talked about a lot with creativity, how she would use dance to some of the movements when she is examining children. But she's a neonatologist, right?
Yep.
Yes.
So she would kind of predict if they are able to hold certain poses, how developmentally they would be able to perform.
Yes. So that was super
That was
interesting.
intriguing.
I
yes,
also
right?
loved that she had a similar story. You can see across cultures and generations, but she had this story about my mom wouldn't let me dance because only bad women knew and practiced dance. And then Kirsten had this same challenge within, right? Will they take me seriously if I dance? And they both came to the same conclusion. Yes, we can dance and be physicians. And that acceptance of self, I think, was one of the things that I took.
Yes, absolutely.
As a beautiful
yes. And then the nice thing about both of them agreed on is keep dancing. It doesn't have to be dance. It can be music. It can be anything as long as you keep that, especially as a physician, something other than medicine.
And you're going to love this one, John. At the end of the day, we had 2 pebbles, one from each of them, and they were both about community.
Yes.
And I think that was powerful.
Yes.
Wonderful.
The first one being encouraging everybody to become a part of a community. We're not meant to do life alone. And so whether your community is at your church or with a dance group or some kind of online group or a friend, whatever that community is, I encourage everybody to have that because, again, we're not meant to do life alone. And the second thing that I would encourage for the Ripple is to do a vision board. I did a vision board for the first time this year, and it allowed me the opportunity to really be truthful with myself. What do I want? What do I enjoy? What do I love? How do I want to help others? Yes. What are some different goals that I have set for myself that I have just never even thought about taking the first step to do it? And Terry Savelle Foy's got an amazing podcast, YouTube videos that helped me create my first free vision board. And there's so many other resources out there. And even if it's not a vision board, just kind of having that plan for yourself of accomplishing your wildest dreams, biggest goals, is a very, very exciting thing that I was able to do this year. And so I encourage everybody else. I'm planting the Ripple to do that.
Yes, that's wonderful.
Lovely.
This is we're going to put a link from that.
Yes.
Also, just it's seeing
note
where
to
do I go
self.
from here? My purpose.
We need to
Yes, we
have
need
an
to do
episode on vision boards.
Yes, absolutely.
How about you, Rajam?
So, what to me is dancing, to you could be bird watching. Nevertheless, we are both moving. You with your eyes and I with my body.
Yes.
And I think it is important for everyone, and especially us in these stressful areas of life like medicine, where it's not just your life, you're dealing with so many people's lives and emotions.
Yes.
And to find that what moves you, find what moves you, let it grab you and twirl you around.
Yes, yes. What moves you? Yeah.
Yes.
That moment belongs, it could be just a second, but it belongs to you.
You know, I initially spoke with Brian Ferguson's people at Arena Labs. I was so intrigued by their work. I just couldn't wait to hear their podcast. I wasn't there, but I would love to hear from you all.
You know, Brian does a lot with performance, and he and Arena Labs are very interested in healthcare. His mom was a nurse.
Yes.
He grew up seeing kind of the way individuals practiced in healthcare and some of the challenges and stresses. One of the things that was fascinating to me, and I should have, I guess, known this from the start, but he talked about the fact that a lot of first-line workers, firefighters, police, paramedics, physicians, all have what he called a service archetype. And he said something about having, you know, kind of these inspired souls to serve others and to help others, which was wonderful. But it comes at a cost, because when you have that passion to serve others and help others, it's very easy for physicians to move beyond their limits to help others to the point that they actually get burnt out. And so it was very poignant to me that the very thing that makes us great physicians and nurses and paramedics, etc., also can harm us on the backside.
Yes, yes. With him being a week, we were talking without a stop. We could have kept going.
for hours.
It was a beautiful podcast.
We ended up saying, when we go to Nashville, we're going to visit you. So, Brian, we are going to visit you. But I think I was intrigued by what he said, because that was unexpected, about the third thing that we should have. And I don't want to spoil the pebble. I'm going to let our audiences listen to that. What do you think, John?
Well, the other thing that, and I've even now incorporated this into a lot of my talks on resident performance, is about sleep. And we've certainly known that sleep is important.
Yes.
The thing that he added to my knowledge was that it's not only about the amount of sleep one gets, but also about being consistent in your sleep. And for physicians, this is challenging because sometimes we are exhausted and we fall asleep early, and other times we stay up late, doing things on our phone or watching TV or decompressing from a long day. And what he said is, if you can fall asleep within an hour of a standard time, either before or after, it really aligns well with your circadian rhythms, and you get much higher quality of sleep, which then makes you perform better. Yes. And that, to me, that was a little bit of a game changer in terms of performance.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because of all the pebbles, they're very personal, right? You have to find your passion. But this one was the one that I think applies for
across the board for everybody.
Yes, everyone.
If you're human.
Yes.
So if they're human, exactly. And I have, since I had that conversation with Brian, it has changed the way I work with residents when we talk about sleep and being tired and performance. So that was an amazing one.
Yeah, this will be a good pebble to listen to.
When I was in the military, there was a gentleman named Zach Weatherford who ran performance for special operations. And Zach had worked in Olympic sport and in athletics. And one of the things that happens with people, again, the service archetype are people deeply driven, is we have a hard time turning off work. We think about it constantly. We do it all the time. And so in pro sports, one of the ways to keep somebody nimble, and rather than just, when you're exhausted laying on the couch for the day, they created this idea of active recovery. And active recovery said, in your downtime, on your day off, how do you do a third thing? Again, it's not work and it's not home or your family. But it's ideally something you love, a hobby that is outdoors, and you do it with people you care about. And think about, I live in Nashville. For me, that's stand-up paddling on the Cumberland River. It might be hiking. It might be cycling. It might just be working on your car in the garage. But ultimately, a third thing is we realize is really important in data sets, because particularly as you move further in your career, not having a third thing, you get exhausted by the grind of work and home. And so to make it tactical, we see this in data. What happens is a lot of residents, and even with attendings, you've got an intense week. On the weekend, you feel guilty for missing out on time with family. And so you overschedule your weekend with obligations for other people. Maybe you have a nice night out, you drink some alcohol, and then by Monday, you're actually worse off than you were Friday. And so people who have a deliberate active recovery practice, we see their data improved demonstrably, meaning their nervous system deactivates, their sleep improves, and they just subjectively feel better. So to make it tactical, I challenge every listener to think of, what is your active recovery practice? What is a third thing that you can ideally do outdoors on your downtime, day off, and do it with people you care about, close friends, family, loved ones, and schedule 2 hours a week for just that thing. Not for anyone else, but for yourself. And then we see that self-valuation score go way up in the indices we use to measure burnout.
So the one thing that I would have never thought about in this life beyond medicine would be comedy. But you guys found someone, and when I got an opportunity to meet him, he was such an interesting person. And I'm going to let y'all tell me a little bit about him.
Yes. So comedy, we have always been intrigued by these comedy clips, day in your surgery and all that, right? So we were looking for someone in our own institution, and we came across Dr. Nishan Gajar. He's a faculty at the Women's and Children, or
no, at the multi-specialty and research hospital.
He's a faculty at the brand new multi-specialty hospital. And his take on humor and how he incorporates, and the other side of humor he talked about is also being mindful. Yes. You want to be able to notice humor in everyday thing. Yes. And that was very profound to me. What do you say, Adriana?
Yeah, I remember that was the episode that for the first time I went like, I did not expect that at the end of the day, he connected humor, comedy, listening to people, because he made a point of how important it was to know your audience and to match the energy of your
Yes.
audience, and how he uses that with patients. So they feel heard, they feel that, physician and patients are working together instead of separate. And then at the end, I honestly thought he was going to say, just watch a funny show and laugh or do something. And he ends giving us a completely surprising pebble.
Yes. Yeah. It was a wonderful episode. And he really gave us life's lessons
Yes.
through comedy,
Yep.
humor.
Let's listen to that one.
I don't have a joke for you. I actually think my biggest advice is to meditate. And I know this has nothing really to do with comedy
Wow.
or seemingly, but I think when you meditate, when you do it routinely and you really do it without expecting anything, a lot of times you'll feel connected to everyone else around you, to nature. You realize that you are all just one, and that you're no higher than anyone else, you're no lower than anyone else.
Wow.
You help kind of find equality in ego, and I think that helps you be a little more easygoing, be a little more, employ more of a sense of humor, and I think that's where comedy can come from. So
Yes.
meditate.
Meditate.
Wow.
You're hired in our group now.
So for this next pebble, I have to read the introduction because I think it's perfect. It said, when medicine gets tough, some turn to running, others to painting, but for Dr. Paulette Ossamer and Dr. Arati Kamat, the answer is creative writing.
Yes.
Yes.
That was a beautiful one too. I
Yeah.
think they're all my favorites
Yes.
this season. We had two very different women with two very different backgrounds. One was actually here in person with us. The other one was up north.
Yes.
And they were, I think, the energy between them, and they were fascinated at how validating it was to hear the other one saying, yes, yes, and that's how I do it, or that's how it happens for me. So that was a very feel-good kind of episode, and I do think that they both found their voices. Creative writing is not about being perfect. They both said that too,
Yes.
but about finding their voices and being able to express them out there. So that was a nice thing to be reassured about. What do you think,
Yes.
Vina?
Well, Arati Kamat, they were in different specialities.
Yes.
And one is pediatric oncology and other one psychiatry.
Yes.
And yet the common thing that bonded them together on the podcast was writing. And Arati did say initially it had to be perfect, her writing. Otherwise
Yes.
she would say, no, this is not for me. But then this is something we always tell our residents, everything doesn't have to be perfect. But she found a way to use her perfectionism in writing. She would get these amazing books, diaries to start writing.
Yes.
And that was her way of getting over the initial writer's block, because it had to be perfect.
Yes.
Whereas Paulette, she would write, but she would not be wanting to show it to anybody. She would say, no, I don't know if
Very
it's
personal.
Very personal.
Yes.
Also, what if I'm being judged?
Yeah.
Yes.
In some ways, the same perfectionism were used in different contexts, and I thought that was
Yes.
also a way that they both overcame just by writing.
Yes, and they both had to overcome it. And Arati has a very powerful journal
Yeah, she has published
article
an
that
article.
is published. The link is in our podcast, and I highly recommend everyone to read it. And Dr. Paulette also gave us some of her writings that are also published in our social media, and I would highly recommend people to read it. But beyond that, the lesson was that find your voice, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be there for others to judge or think about you. It's yours. This is your power. This is how you move through the challenges of being in medicine. And I think that was very, very telling. I always, working with residents and fellows, 90%, if not more, come to us and say, well, I think I have these perfectionistic tendencies. And I'm like, I know you have these perfectionistic tendencies.
You want them to have it.
Yes.
Yet you want to know how to use it.
Exactly.
That's probably where I would say, sure, it's great you have it.
Yes.
But does it have to be perfect when you're making tomato sauce? Or
Yes,
that's right. I can fail in somewhere. It doesn't have to be perfect.
We look for
Then it
excellence,
counts.
not
Yeah.
perfectionism,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
perfectionism doesn't exist. And we miss a lot of things.
It's a moving goal, so where is it? Right?
Yes.
One of the neat things I've heard about creative writing and journaling is it's a little like a time machine. And people talk about writing for years about their lives and what's happening at certain times in their life. Times that are extremely challenging, other times that are very happy and joyful. And being able at times to sit and go back to read what you were thinking about, what you were feeling at a time during a great challenge, the loss of somebody important to you, or during a promotion or a wedding of your children. It's a really neat opportunity to see your life in the
and
past
they
and
both
now.
mentioned that too. And of all the pebbles and techniques that we talk about, this one is the one that we actually use as a formal technique in therapy.
Yeah, writing, journaling.
We use all the other ones a little bit as part of creative therapy, modes, but this one is part of therapy for most of the
journaling,
journaling,
gratitude,
Yes.
journal. It takes
journaling,
different forms, right?
narrative therapy, writing your own story, so many different ways that we use creative writing. So this is a powerful one.
This will be a good pebble.
Whatever it takes to take the pressure off, in terms of kind of like we talked about, it doesn't need to be perfect. This is not supposed to be stressful. So if it feels like a day where writing's not going to happen, that's okay. Don't force it. But also, if you are feeling like this is something you want to do, try and make it an enjoyable experience somehow. So for me, what that looks like is I love pretty notebooks. So
yes,
just the prettiest notebook that I'm excited to use, or a fun pen, or a crazy ink color that really encourages me to want to start the process and sit down and write. So any little thing like that is encouraging to you, that makes you excited to do this, I think is going to be helpful. And just try and take the pressure off and do it if it feels right.
That's lovely. That's wonderful.
Advice and tip that. So it's the process. Get something to get started.
And feel.
Yes. Thank you.
Love it. How about you, Paulette? Do you have a pebble for us?
Yeah, I would say, and this is something I tell all my patients, and I am in psychiatry, so I know a lot of my other colleagues that are in psychiatry say the same thing. Journaling is important. Mm-hmm. I can't stress enough how important I think journaling is. I think it's not only a tool to help you process in a moment, but it's a tool for reflection, for you to be able to go to later and revisit. And it allows you to remember what you were experiencing during those times. Because sometimes we'll experience a lot of things and we'll forget what experiences we had and how it made us feel. So it allows you to go back, reflect, remember what was going on at that time, remember how you were feeling, and then to use that as building blocks to continue. And so I think journaling is one thing that it's like one of those, don't do as I say, as I do, but not for this situation. I do really recommend journaling. Yes. It could be on notes on iPad. It could be in an actual physical journal. Just the physical act of writing. It could start with how your day went, a situation that you had. And so that would be my thing. It's just start writing. It could be about it doesn't have to be a specific style. Just get something and put it to paper.
And then we closed the season, I think, with a cherry on top. It was a really powerful, wonderful guest and a really powerful and wonderful topic of discussion. We were talking about advocacy in medicine. So many of our guests said, it's not just about you, it's not just for you, it's what you can give the world through your hobbies, through your practice of medicine. And this one, you too were hosting, Dr. Shah. Can you both tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, it was a powerful one. See, all the other episodes, they were in a way advocating for wellness of residents or for fellow physicians. And I probably didn't recognize when Dr. Shah came about, and he talked about advocacy starts with patients. Advocacy starts with yourself. Advocacy is something as close to your heart as medicine itself or your profession itself. That's when we felt that, yes, that's what we have been doing, right?
Absolutely. If there was an episode that totally changed my perspective on a topic, I think if you ask most physicians about advocacy, they will tell you, well, it's writing letters. Well, it's taking a trip to Austin to talk to your elected officials, or it's getting a lot of people together to put a op-ed in a paper and comment about something. And he really said it's so much easier than that. As you said, Vina, it's advocacy begins in the office, in the clinic, with your particular, your own patients.
Yeah.
And we even heard this at the most recent AAMC Learn, Serve, Lead, the idea of big medicine, big institutions may not have as much trust as they have had in the past. But the beauty of advocacy is that people still very much trust their personal physicians, and that's where you can begin to advocate for the things that are critical for them.
Yeah. When he was working in Uvalde or someplace many years ago, he wrote a note saying that patients suffer with when it takes time for prior authorization. And he kept working on it. And then now it has been introduced not only in Texas, in so many places. So from that, what I took was, if you believe in something, if you feel that this is something that it's worthwhile pursuing, no matter what, pursue it. And it will happen. And it's something like physicians. They don't give up. And it's the same thing, in advocacy too. So it was so beautifully put.
And this is a man that leads by example. He is now the president of the Texas Medical Association. Yes. And he was flying in from Chicago, if I remember correctly, straight from the airport to come here and talk to us about advocacy. So we know he's walking the talk. Yes. And I loved that from him. And when you mentioned the AAMC meeting, I think that I took that. You were talking to us about that during the meeting, that people still trust their doctor more than they might trust big institutions. I find so beautiful that we patients call my doctor. My doctor is this. My doctor is that. And yes, I know that part of it means, I'm working with that person. No, but I think
it's more than that.
Yes, it's a very personal relationship. I trust you. I put my health in your hands, and I feel you as part of my life. You are my doctor. And I know I say, when I talk about my doctors, I say it with that pride, right?
Yes.
They are my doctors.
And when imagine that being that same doctor is advocating for you, is how beautiful it is. Yes. And I just have to say this. Dr. Shah not only does all this, but he does yoga. He said he takes care of himself. He gets good sleep. And while he's having dinner with his wife, no phone calls. So he also has good boundaries at some point. I think that is a
Yes.
message that we all have to also take it with us.
Yeah, it was a great episode to end the season with. I also thought it was interesting that it was very important for him in the podcast to talk about all of the people that he works with.
Yes.
That he's one person, he's part of a team of people. And again, going to that idea of we do better when we do this all together.
Yeah, I think, first thing is advocate for yourself. I think that's the most important thing, is to take care of yourself. Mm-hmm. And I have learned in my journey as a TMA president, going all over the state and meeting all the physicians, I feel like burnout is pretty common.
Yes.
In all discipline, and doesn't matter, even medical students, residents, and fellow, everybody's going through that phase of burnout. Mm-hmm. And it's so important for them to take care of themselves. And like in the airline industry, I just flew back from Chicago today, and like the airline air hostess says, put a mask on yourself first before you put on someone else.
Yes.
So I think advocacy is great, but you can only advocate for others if you can advocate for yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
Advocate for self-care, actually.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we often say you can't drink from an empty cup and you can't give water to someone else from an empty cup.
So nicely said. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what an amazing season again. How proud I feel that we were able to have this guest willing to share with us so many amazing stories and tips for everyone. And this is just our 4th season. We're not done.
Yep. We're already looking forward to our 5th season. We have a few special guests already set up, and maybe a few surprises as well. So please keep looking for our next season ahead.
Yes, looking forward to the next season and beyond.
And in the meantime, keep throwing pebbles to create some ripples. Ripples Physicians Wellbeing is made possible by the Joe R. and Teresa Lozano Long School of Medicine Office for Graduate Medical Education. To contact us or learn more about the Wellness Home, visit gmewellness.utesca.edu.
This podcast is inspired by the Dalai Lama's powerful quote: "Just as ripples spread out when a single pebble is dropped into water, the actions of individuals can have far-reaching effects." We provide physicians with pebbles, tangible and actionable practices that can help make positive impacts in their personal and professional lives.